I am Coffee Kevin. I was thinking about one of my favorite films. What's it called? The Mind Reader. 30s film with Warren Williams. He's got a crystal ball. He plays a mentalist? Is that it? Or anyway, he's fortune teller. Anyway, it's a great kind of 30s pre-code film. Anyway, but he had a crystal ball, and it looked kind of like this to me. This is, of course, and I'm going to guess at this pronunciation because I know the company, but I'm trying to remember. Diguo or Diguo? It's a Diguo, 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 vacuum siphon coffee maker. And they've been to CoffeeCon, and they have a very interesting and good product. It's a little product, and it's almost the closest you can get to. Can you get an overhead shot, Michael, and see if we can show this? I'm trying to show this part. Yeah, that's it. And look at that. It's a dial. It works. Actually, you're better on my thumb. Here. There we go. And see? It really works like that. In fact, I think that's the best. It's a, that's off, and it's was it thermostat, rheostat? I don't know. It's a knob. How's that? And it turns it up, and they have these numbers between 1 and 500, and I don't. I think they're just to show you that turning it up more gives you more heat. And it's really a heat control. The heat is this embedded hot plate in here. And then it's a very nice design. And the early ones that I tried came only with a permanent filter. But the appeal of this one is it comes with a cloth filter, and I just rinsed it out. That's why I always rinse out any product before I use it, and that's why I like cloth filters the best. Maybe they know that, and that's why they sent me this one. It doesn't ring accurately. Well, maybe they do, actually. So anyway, and of course the top, I spared you the unboxing, but the top beautifully turns into a stand, just like the Hario. And however, I really like this idea. In fact, I would argue it's probably more efficient than a infrared lamp to be used for the same purpose. It's just real easy, makes it a nice low profile, sits on the counter, under the cabinets. Not as grand, perhaps, and it doesn't have the cool look of the infrared light coming through it, but it's, as far as being practical and pragmatic, I like this. You could theoretically stir, as we're going to stir when we're making coffee. You could do that, but instead, they give you a wooden stick, and this answers the excuse me, concerns of I wonder if my hay fever's hitting. It answers the concerns of someone who said, "Oh, plastic, in your coffee." Well, I guess this one there's no plastic that's going to touch it in the process because this is wood and glass and cloth and a little metal. That's it. So, and down here, this is it's all glass. It's actually all glass. It's I believe the metal part. I don't think that the metal ever touches. No, it's all glass. So, good deal. Let's see. How do we use it? They also provide an instruction manual, and I know it's demeaning, but I'm going to look at it. high heating capacity coffee in 5 minutes. Yeah, that's about right. Place filter assembly inside upper vessel. I've already done that. And hook to the tube end as it was delivered. Well, okay. Fill 70% of the to 80% of the lower vessel with water, cold or hot. Interesting. I would never think of putting hot in there, but I guess of course I would if you could use it from a kettle. But I don't. This is a kettle in effect, so I don't even think of doing it with this one. And I have one of these, and I use it, and it's pretty familiar with it. This is the amount of water, which, by the way, is about what a Chemex, of the pint Chemex, so it's about a pint. Of course, it's in metric, but so we're going to pour this in. And I'm just doing this slowly so that I don't spill any, because usually I do this really fast. In fact, I may do this right at the faucet. Isn't that... Oh, there we go. It's a little bit less than I wanted, but let me see if I have any water. I don't. That's all right. It'll be fine. It's right under 3. So it makes 3 really good cups of coffee, real small cups of coffee. I would say, well, let's see if it's using the pint. They're not, it's not big enough for all 3 of us to have our usual cup of coffee. And let's, however, the goal of this is, I believe, you put this together, and let me just check the instructions and see how, I'm going to make it how they tell you to. Turn the regulator to, put it together, and then turn it to 300. Are we plugged in here, Michael? No, we're not. Credit me with being able to tell if the light is lit. There we go. That's why I'm the manager. I can see the light. Okay. And when the water boils and comes to the top, put ground coffee in the upper vessel. Yeah, I would agree with that too. I would, comes to the top, put the water in. It makes sense. Okay, and this is, look how fast this works too. It does, I think it works very quickly, and it's one thing I really like about it. By the way, the coffee we're using today is Hansa Coffee's Fire Mountain, which is a, man, what is it? Anaerobic process? I have no idea what that means, but it's really an unusual, it's a Costa Rican coffee. It's the most unusual Costa Rican coffee I've ever had. It's not, I can't compare it to anything else. I actually has like I thought a strong cinnamon. Man, it says cinnamon to me. And I mean it. If I didn't know better, I'd say there was some cinnamon added to it. But I mean, it tastes natural that it's in there, but it's very unusual, and I really enjoy it. So I wanted to use it again for this, because this, I predict this will show it off very favorably. Because the one thing about the siphon that I really like, first of all, it's an extremely, I guess the term I'd use is aggressive method of making coffee. It has a lot of turbulence to it, and you'll see it when the water comes up there and bubbles around. In fact, oftentimes, first-time viewers of the siphon in action will suggest, they'll say, oh, that water's boiling. And it's only when I use the thermometer and put it in there that I prove to them it's not. It looks like it's boiling, though, because it's bubbling so much at the top. The water below is boiling, yes, but the water above is not boiling. Never. But it's very, the rich taste of it and the thorough extraction comes from the fact that it's very, very, this turbulence is involved. And yes, the temperature is at the higher end, just like when we used the Krups Mocha the other day, which is a drip machine, but it has a lot of, it has a strong, it's drip, but it's a slightly turbocharged drip because the water, the spraying of the water comes down. It is more aggressive than usual. So we're into aggressive methods right now, at least for a couple of days here. This is called a TCA3C. If you're going to Google something like this, I just put in Diguo Siphon, and the company will come up. And I'm sure they're widely available on eBay new. And like I said, they've been to several coffee cons, and they're nice company to deal with as far as I'm concerned. So I'm waiting for this to heat up. The siphon, of course, the patent for the siphon is Robert Napier, who's a Scots inventor. So this is a real world method. I mean, we're using Costa Rican coffee, Scottish invention, made in China and designed, I believe, in China, I'm pretty sure. And so I think we're getting, and by the way, at one time, this method was the most popular method in the U.S. I guess I'm doing my own small bit to see if it's possible to happen again. I think the siphon is a terrific method. It answers a lot of challenges of coffee. It's not as grind sensitive as some methods, because the problem with drip and grind is the grounds, if you're off a little bit, it'll change not only the surface area exposed, but the timing on the contact time. Not so with a siphon. It just changes the surface area. It does not change. This is controlled by the knob, how quickly and how the duration of exposure to the water to the grounds. You'll see. Okay, it's coming up there, and then once it's up there, what do they want me to do? They want me to stir it. I'm sure that's true. You stir to soak the coffee powder and lower the thermoregulator to 200 for 45 seconds. I'm going to. I would agree with the idea of less is more with stirring. First of all, it's getting a lot of turbulence anyway. The idea is we really don't need to overstir it. I do stir it to one point. I stir it to the point that all the grounds appear to be wet. And that doesn't take 40 minutes. That takes usually 5 seconds. 40 minutes, 40 seconds. It doesn't take 40 seconds. Here we go. Okay, let's go. And then I'll use my phone. It's okay to leave it up there for a second. Oh, let's see, clock. And let's see, we're putting it in here right now. Let's do this. Start, okay. Okay. And then let's go in here. Let's take 5 seconds. That's it. And then that's all you need to do of this. Let's put this down. And now we're going to turn it down. You get the overhead for this, Mike? It was up here. I'm turning it down to about, when they say 200, I assume they mean like that. Something like that. Something near 100. And just so that you're not getting as much turbulence. And that's really, it used the turbulence mostly to get things started, and now you just let it sit. And then let's see, 50 seconds. That's about right. We're going to go to 1 minute, and then we're going to turn this off. I'm going to give it one stir before I do that. Does it say to do that? I don't know whether it does or not, but I'm going to do it anyway. Okay. And then that's it. It's just over a minute. It's a minute and 15 seconds, and it's going to come down here pretty quickly. Oh yeah, swirl it briefly and gently by stir. So I did it. Wait for coffee to come down to lower vessel. Detach the upper vessel from the lower vessel. Be careful, as the glass may be very hot. This is so true. Coffee's ready. Enjoy siphon from the lower vessel. Okay, it's got a little, ends with just a nice little thing. And you can see, though, thoroughly soaked. Very fast, though. Short contact time. Maybe a little rounded when it's done here. We'll see if it, sometimes the stirring affects that, and in a good way. And that's desirable. That's considered desirable. It's an indication that the filter itself is doing a great job of passing all and the merge. It's handling the merge very well. Don't you wish in rush hour traffic you could get the cars to handle a merge that well? As we're in we're in road construction here during the summer, the end of the summer, late summer. Okay, and that's it. So let's see. That extraction was 2 minutes and 30, roughly 2 minutes and 30 seconds. That's less than 3 minutes. That's pretty fast extraction considering drip is usually 5 to 6 minutes. Hence, they suggest a slighter, finer grind. Because it's a cloth filter, I use just a slightly finer grind for this. I use a full half notch, I guess a full notch, but not a full number. It's I use like 5.5 on my ditting for drip, and I use 5. Instead of 5.5, I use 5 for the vacuum. That's just a little bit less. Let's see, and then this is this, and this is where this stand comes in really handy. By the way, just a quick tip. This part's real hot. This part's not as hot. It's hot. It's warm. Okay, so grab it near the top. Don't squeeze too hot. It's I don't know whether they use tempered glass or not. I would assume it's somewhat tempered, but I don't know that. And I always err on anything with heat. And this will be Michael's cup. And this is too hot, really, to dry. Oh, I can smell the cinnamon. Can you? Yeah, I can smell it. I don't know if anyone else can, but. And here's one thing really nice about this coffee method. Look at this. Maybe it has a third cup in there for Pat. I hope so. And you can just put it down anywhere. You don't have to put it back on here. You just put it down anywhere. It's a really nicely designed. Oops, let's move that out of here. It's a nicely designed brewer. Here. Could you get a money shot on that, Mike? Just to look at that right here. This shot. It looks like your camera's aimed right. There we go. Okay, and that is, and then. Oh, let's see how hot I could have measured it while it was brewing. If I had, I can tell you, would have been 200 degrees plus or minus, actually minus 200 degrees, maybe 198, something like that. And then let's see. Yeah, see, this is now at 160, 154. Okay, it's coming down pretty rapidly. I don't generally, I believe 149 is the safe temperature to start sipping coffee. So I'm going to let it, let's see, 160 up there. No, I'm going to let it go for a couple of seconds. I'm not going to take, I've reformed. But anyway, this is a delicious cup of coffee, and it will be just fantastic to drink in a minute here. Wow. Well, of course, the complexity isn't there yet. That comes with lowering temperature, but this has that cinnamon taste. If you really have never had a cinnamony tasting coffee, that's a real coffee, no cinnamon in it, no extract. It is really quite a delicious and unusual take on Costa Rican coffee. Costa Rica, Fire Mountain, I have no idea. Hansa Coffee in Libertyville, Illinois. I'm sure they're online. And say hi to Tom and Kevin over there if you stop in, if they're around. Tom is fastidiously roasting and cupping coffees a lot. In fact, he just got back from vacation, so I have to give him a call and see if he'll come and talk to us about it. I'd really like to hear the story of this one. Let's see, CoffeeCon. I just had a phone conversation with the Specialty Coffee Association, who I was asking for some support and some working with us for our CoffeeCon shows for next year. Very enlightening conversation. Very nice exchange, and really was more than an hour, so it was quite in depth. There is a U.S. chapter now. The United States has gone from being the Specialty Coffee Association to their expansion in Europe, and now the United States is a chapter. And the chapter is currently not yet funded, so they are very willing, however, to come and do some presentations with us. And I think they also, I know they've reached out to me previously and said they would love to be exhibitors. I guess I was hoping for a little more commitment in the form of funding, but that is the way things go right now. And so we'll continue those talks, and I'll give you updates. Also, though, I think would be really good to have them involved. They do a lot of, I guess they do some, standards for the industry, and the specialty coffee industry. I do want to say this, and it's not out of any form of U.S. jingoism on my part, or I'm patriotic, but I'm not patriotic to the point that at the exclusion of other cultures and countries. The United States, in many ways, was the beginning of the specialty coffee movement. So I do want to give them credit for, so many times, just because you live in a country, you get the impression that it started there, and it may not have. Some other things, for instance, they cannot. The United States can't take credit, for instance, for this compact disc player, that's shared between Philips in Holland and Sony in Japan. But actually, specialty coffee, the idea of that whole thing was really started by some U.S. Folks. I will give you the backhanded compliment that I got once from, in fact, a Dutch coffee trader who told me, yes, it did start in the U.S. It was something broken that needed to be fixed, and in Europe it wasn't really broken. So it's an interesting aside. And as far as I can see, there's a lot of truth to it. The United States became known as a quantity, not quality country as far as coffee goes. And coffee really increased in quality under the nameplate specialty coffee, and which I believe was coined by the late Erna Knudsen. Erna was a green coffee person. I want to say she worked for, I want to say Hills Brothers, but I could be wrong about that. She certainly worked for a company that supplied Hills Brothers. And was it Alessi? It was, no, she worked for, I'll look it up and give you the real story someday. It'll be fun. In fact, I have an interview with her that I should run as our tape one day. But Erna is, I coined her phrase, the Queen of Green. That was my first Coffee Companion interview back in the 90s, early 90s, and Erna was just a fabulous personality and driving force of specialty coffee. And anyway, she was not allowed in the cupping room, though. A little sexual inequality story here. She was not allowed in the cupping room at her first employer, and she left. She started her own company where she was, of course, allowed in the cupping room, and she really created an industry out of it, the specialty coffee industry, which is the good stuff like this that we're enjoying today. By the way, I think I can take a bigger sip. Wow. No problem on this being able to resolve siphon coffee. It does a nice job. And it's I like cloth filters, as you know. I think that's kudos to them for adding that feature. So Erna went on and coined the phrase specialty coffee. She met with some other folks who were kind of jaded coffee people that had worked in the industry and realized that it became all about the price. Wasn't it the head of one of the grocery chains that once said, as long as it's creates a liquid that's brown and cheap, we'll sell it. So that's where supermarket coffees, canned coffees at the time, went to that point. And now, as you've seen, I'm not a complete snob. We've tried some coffees that were so-called supermarket brands that taste pretty good that are currently out, but I would say they were affected by the specialty coffee, and so in some cases grew out of the specialty coffee world. So I don't. I'm not saying at all that you can't get good coffee at a supermarket, but at one time the supermarket concept went hand in hand with kind of a concept of just quantity coffee, just liquid caffeine, and which this is far from. This is a wonderful cup of coffee by anyone's standards, I think. More on CoffeeCon later. I'm Coffee Kevin, and it's been great chatting with you today. I think we're going to be back tomorrow with another one. We did Wednesday and Thursday this week. Last week, I think I mentioned that on Tuesday I wouldn't be able to be available. I had an appointment, but I'm trying to, as much as I can, to adhere to a twice a week format here. It's always great to see you, though, and I'm enjoying this coffee, and we'll see you soon.